Do you believe in love? Don't hurry to brush it off yet. I want you to really take a moment to answer that question because this case is one of those stories that will make you question whether love is something worth searching for. It was supposed to be a romantic Valentine date for two people to get to know each other better, but it ended in a young lady losing her dear life. In this video, we'd piece together the final hours of Sarah Cole's life, and the hunt for the man who took her life and vanished. Before we get started, if you're a lover of real stories with mysteries in between, make sure to subscribe to the channel because you'd find a lot of them here. Hit that like button, and tell me about your view on the case when you're done watching. At 26, Sarah had just finished her master's degree program in education. People around her confirmed that she had always been fascinated by the way human beings learn and the power of teaching while growing up. And it was most likely the reason why she still went ahead to get a master's degree in the field. But like so many people after school, she was also looking for a deeper connection. And that's where he came in. About 4 weeks before Valentine's Day, she met this guy named Trent on Instagram and they connected. He was good-looking and seemed to be funny, and at the same time, good with words. He knew the right things to say and when to say them. They majorly talked about life, their favorite places, and what they wanted most for the future. She felt he was genuine and safe, like someone she could trust. He took advantage of it and invited her to spend Valentine's Day with him, and seeing that they were going well, she didn't turn him down. She said yes. Sarah lived in Louisiana, but he was in Texas. Distance wasn't a problem. Her close friend, Mona, lived in Texas, and it wasn't going to be a problem going to stay over before meeting Trent in person. On the 12th of February, 2 days before Valentine, Sarah packed her bags and made the drive from Louisiana to Texas. Her friend, Mona, already knew why she was coming. They were that close that they told each other about their romantic affairs. She saw staying at her friend's place as a way to ease the anxiety that came with meeting someone for the first time. But despite the nerves, Sarah was hopeful. This man had taken care of everything, especially the hotel reservation. According to her friend, Sarah's excitement was impossible to miss, especially in the hours leading up to the date. She even helped her with her makeup and picking the right thing to wear. At around 7 p.m., Sarah left her friend's place and headed for the hotel. At first, the plan was simple: dinner, drinks, chat, and a night to remember. And for a while, everything seemed to be going just as expected. Security footage from the hotel showed that Sarah met him in the lobby. No more messages, no more waiting. Just the two of them, face to face for the first time. He didn't look any different from the pictures on his Instagram page. From there, he took her hand and led her toward the front desk, and they both checked in together. Security cameras caught them walking down the hallway, side by side. He opened the door to the room, and just like that, the night began. But unknown to Sarah, it wasn't going to end well for her. Inside the hotel room, a bottle of wine sat on the nightstand with the glasses half full. They probably talked and shared stories while drinking, and whatever nervousness Sarah had felt earlier that day was gradually fading away. But it was at this moment that something changed. After a moment of drinking, she started feeling slight dizziness. She probably tried to shake it off and focus, but the feeling only got stronger, and her limbs started feeling heavier. It was at this moment that she managed to pick up her phone and send a message to her friend at home. The exact message she sent was, "I don't feel right. I think I may have been drugged." She then shared her location too. It was a small and almost instinctive act, but that would be the last message she ever sent and helping her people find her. No one knows for sure what happened next because there were no cameras inside the room. And there were no third parties. Just the both of them in the room. Sarah's friend Mona, after seeing her text, responded with, "Be serious, girl. Don't play with me." But there was no response after some minutes, so she tried to call her multiple times, but again, there was still no response at all. Her instinct already told her Sarah was in danger, and she started tracing the location she received. A while later, Mona finally located the hotel and headed straight to the room number Sarah had sent earlier alongside the text. Immediately she opened the door, she found Sarah lying on the bed, lifeless, motionless, and completely undressed. Mona immediately raised an alarm and called for help. The hotel management then called police authorities to report the event. The scene at the hotel was immediately concerning to the authorities. Sarah's lifeless body was all the proof they needed. But what had happened? Why had this seemingly harmless date turned into a crime scene? The first step in any investigation: the witnesses. The hotel receptionist, still finding everything hard to believe, recalled when Sarah and Trent had checked in together. There was nothing unusual about their arrival. The man was polite, well-dressed, just like anyone you'd expect on a romantic night out. He had even booked the room a week in advance, making it seem like this was planned for some time. Authorities headed to the hotel surveillance room to see if the cameras captured him by any chance when he was leaving, but the camera never caught anyone leaving the room after they both entered, which suggested that he used a different means of exit beside the main exit of the hotel. They went back to the room to see if they could find any crack or breakout of any sort, but the entire room was completely in its default shape. But there was the car. The vehicle that Trent had driven to the hotel was still sitting in the parking lot, abandoned and left behind. Authorities circled around it, examining the exterior. No signs of exertion of force on the vehicle, no immediate evidence of a struggle or damage. Just an ordinary sedan, parked as if the owner had simply stepped away for a moment. But of course, he hadn't just stepped away. He had vanished. That alone raised a crucial question. Why leave the car behind? If this man had planned his escape, wouldn't he have driven off and disappeared completely? Or had something gone wrong, forcing him to flee on foot? At this point, investigators had to run the vehicle's registration. If they could find out who owned it, they might be able to track down the suspect. And then, the first unexpected twist. The car wasn't in the suspect's name. In fact, his name wasn't anywhere on the documents. Instead, it was registered to someone else entirely, a woman named Evelyn Bennett. Had the suspect stolen the vehicle? Borrowed it? Or was she somehow involved? The officers wasted no time and quickly made their way to her home, eager to understand her connection to the car and any potential ties to the crime. On locating Evelyn's home, the police first asked her if she was the registered owner of the vehicle in question, which she confirmed to be hers. When asked how her vehicle ended up abandoned in the same hotel a young woman had been found dead, she reacted with shock. Evelyn explained that her boyfriend, Trent, had bought the car for her the previous month and told her he needed to take the car out, but he didn't mention where exactly he was going. According to her, he went out with the car the previous day saying he was meeting someone, but she didn't know who or even where. And now, he had not returned or even contacted her. At that point, it was now clear to investigators that Trent was cheating on Evelyn, and Sarah was most likely not the first or only victim he had come across. This realization left Evelyn in shock and disbelief. She was already having a pile of unanswered questions within her. Had she ever truly known him? Or was this just another part of the twisted game he had been playing? With no answers, the investigation pressed on. But one thing was clear: the man they were looking for had become a ghost, but he needed to be brought to book to pay for his actions and for justice to be delivered to Sarah. The clock was ticking. Authorities were now in full pursuit of the man they believed to be responsible for Sarah's death. But despite their best efforts, it quickly became clear that they weren't chasing a man that wanted to be found easily. In addition to the series of investigations, the police attempted to trace his digital footprint. But his Instagram profile was suddenly gone and deleted. Every thread of communication Sarah had with him, the texts, the likes, and the comments had all vanished in an instant, as if he had never existed at all. Not a single message remained to connect him to Sarah. The number recovered from Sarah's phone that he had used to communicate with he was now burned. The investigators couldn't help but ask themselves if he had planned this all along. Was this his ultimate goal from the moment he first slid into Sarah's DM? Did he carefully craft this entire situation to get close to her, only to pull away in the cruelest way possible? Examining the timeline, this wasn't just a crime of opportunity. It wasn't random. Everything about it, the hotel reservation made a week in advance, the fake identities, the burner phones, suggested it was carefully planned in detail. Like in every crime case, theories began to swirl among the investigators. Some suggested robbery. Maybe he had lured her there to rob her. But nothing was taken. No valuables, no money. Nothing had been disturbed in the hotel room, aside from the horror that had taken place. Others wondered if it was a crime of obsession. Was he obsessed with Sarah? Did he stalk her for weeks, patiently waiting for the right moment to make his move? Or was this just a case of a man using online dating as a tool to feed his darker desires, his twisted sense of control? There was no clear answer. But one thing was certain. Sarah had been the victim of something far worse than a random attack. She had fallen into the trap of someone who knew exactly what they were doing and was now nowhere to be found. The search for the man, now identified only by his Instagram alias, intensified. But with each passing day, the chances of finding him grew slimmer. Was he still in Texas? Had he fled the state entirely? Or was he hiding in plain sight, wearing a new face and leaving behind the only life he had known? With every passing day, investigators couldn't shake the nagging questions that continued to haunt their efforts. Every step they took toward uncovering the truth brought up more questions that seemed to lead to even darker, more unsettling possibilities. Why did the suspect book the hotel room a full week in advance? It wasn't just a casual decision made on a whim. A week is a long time to plan, to think, and to prepare. Was this a carefully thought-out plan from the very beginning? In a case like this, timing is everything. When Sarah arrived at the hotel and checked in with the man she had been communicating with for weeks, everything seemed normal. But the timing of the reservation raised a significant red flag. Why would he go to the trouble of booking the room so far in advance? Was this a premeditated act? Or did something inside him snap the moment he laid eyes on Sarah in person? Could this have been a crime of impulse, or had he carefully groomed her for weeks, waiting for the perfect opportunity to strike? The details surrounding Sarah's death suggests that Trent was no stranger to manipulation. He had lured Sarah into a false sense of security, convincing her that everything was going to be perfect. But what if she had no idea who he truly was? Had she seen a different side of him in their online conversations that never surfaced in real life? Or had he hidden his true nature from her the entire time? What did he really want from her? Was this just about a Valentine's date, or was there something much darker beneath the surface? And then there was Evelyn, his girlfriend. The woman whose car had unknowingly played a role in this whole tragedy. Did she know more than she had let on? She had seemed so shocked when authorities visited her house, but could she have been hiding something? Was there more to the story than she was willing to share? Her boyfriend had clearly used her, a car gifted as a birthday present, then taken away and left behind as a crucial piece of evidence. Could she have known his intentions? Or was she also a victim of his manipulations, too? Was she too scared to speak out, or too blinded by love to recognize the monster hiding behind the facade? How did he even disappear so fast, without a trace to follow? It wasn't just about finding him anymore, it was about understanding the mind behind the crime. What kind of person could so easily erase all evidence of his existence, leaving nothing behind but confusion and fear? These questions remain unanswered. But with every step, it became clearer. The truth was out there somewhere, if they could just find the missing pieces. The investigation continues and is still on, but one thing remains clear: the man responsible for Sarah Cole's tragic death is still out there on the run. A ghost, leaving behind nothing but questions and confusion. This case is far from over, and it might be years before anyone gets the answers they so desperately need. But we certainly can't deny the fact that justice is still waiting, and Sarah will get the justice she deserves. This is me moving the conversation to you. What do you think happened that night? Was it all part of a well-planned scheme, or did something go horribly wrong in that hotel room? Could Sarah have seen the signs before it was too late? What did the man really want from her, and why did he leave in such a hurry, abandoning everything behind? I want to hear your thoughts, your theories. Drop them in the comments below. Was there something we missed? Did you spot any clues authorities didn't? The truth is out there, and maybe it's you who can help us find it. And if you're new to this channel and a lover of real stories with mysteries in between, we cover mysteries, unsolved crimes and cases just like this all the time. So hit that notification bell and stay tuned. You won't want to miss what's coming next. Thank you for watching, and as always, stay curious. Because there's so much more to these stories than meets the eye.